Just looking for a spot for the tent, somewhere fairly flat. You can almost see the mountains capped with a little bit of snow we've had in the last day or two. Welcome back, folks, and it's arrived at last, my new tent from the United States, and it's the Tarptent Notch Li, or the Notch Lithium. It's a Cuban fibre version of the Notch, which has been on the go for quite a while now. It's a tent I've wanted to try for ages, I really have. Now, I wanted the DCF version, but the price of it and import costs are a bit eye-watering, to say the least. So I had to save up for quite a while, and I paid for this with my own money. I thought it would be a fantastic tent for use on things such as the Cape Wrath Trail and multi-day hikes in the UK and in Scotland, and that was the reason I was just desperate to try one. Now, another thing that kind of made my mind up was that there was modifications done to it, or tweaks, last year to improve it. I think there's a few things that can still be done to it, which I'm going to discuss. But as a lightweight tent for multi-day hikes, I think it's going to be fantastic. If it's not, I will be so disappointed. I'll just, I'll lose the plot. I won't be a happy camper if it doesn't. So we'll get it set up, I'll show you what it's all about and the reasons why I decided to buy it. This tent also utilises trekking poles, 2 of them, and I've got them set at 110 centimetres. Which should be ideal. It does come with some pegs, little pegs, but they're not the longest, but they will do for now. The thing with this tent is that you can put the poles in through the top, and the way you do it is it's actually handled down, and then you put the spike of the pole in this grommet at the top. So you need to be a bit careful and hope you don't slip and damage the fabric. You do have these apex tie-outs as well to help batten down the tent in the windy weather. I'll just tighten up these end bits. One niggle I did have was that the poles that hold the end here tight and also attached to the inner tent, when you're tightening it up, you ever try to pull in on the nest because they're attached by elastic. I might actually add some pegging points here just to hold that out and keep it tight. One of the features of this tent that kind of sold it on me was this waterproof zip. Hopefully it'll hold up in stormy weather. I just like the simplicity of it. And I also like, and it's something I go on about all the time, is it's a 2-way zip. So you can open it up and get a bit more ventilation. If you want a breeze going through at night just to cool you down if it's a warm night, or just to help with the prevention of condensation, great that you can do that. It's also handy that you can open it if you had your stove on the go in the vestibule area. I just think it's a great thing to have in a tent. Now, this can also open up, much like the Lanshan. You can just unzip the door, and it also has a feature that I love as well. This was another reason that I went for it, and it's these magnetic holdbacks. I'll show you on this side. You can unpeg this door and roll it back, and then you just get the tab, done. Absolutely brilliant. This is a very handy feature if you have cold hands in winter with big gloves on. It's just an easy way to get the door held back. I think it's a great idea. When you order your tent from America, you can get it with either an all mesh inner or a kind of half and half like this, where you've got mesh at the top and a windproof fabric at the bottom. Ideal setup. It's just like what I had on my Geomid. It's what I recommend that even the Lanshan has. It's just my favourite kind of nest or inner for a tent in the UK, especially in Scotland. And Tarptent are one of the few companies that actually kind of supply an inner tent like this. And they've done it specifically for the UK market, and it's a fantastic thing. And you will see the majority of scarp tents, or the scarp model in the UK, has this kind of half and half inner. It just keeps you that little bit warmer in windy weather and cold weather, you know, in the winter. I think the majority of tents should have this kind of setup. Now the one thing it does have is a tri-zip door. I hate these loop ones. Oh, it's just a nightmare. I prefer this and open it right out, and it makes access just so much easier. I would have just preferred a T-zip. I know I sound like a broken record. That would just be my choice. But you do have this fairly wide opening, and this is where things go a bit awry, because you've just got this little bit of elastic here to tie back the door. Yeah, works fair enough. I'm not sure what it'd be like trying that with cold fingers. But yeah. I do like that you have this kind of panorama view right round with the doors open through the mesh. Internally it's a good size. I've got about 6 inches either side of me. It's a kind of a diamond shape, so you've got these bits at the side here where you could put some bits and pieces of kit. Head height wise, yeah, there's a good few inches above me. Not too bad, and I'm 5'10". If you're 6 foot, you should be pretty okay. Lengthwise as well, there's plenty of space at the head and foot end. I would say a good 8 or 9 inches. So somebody that's 6 foot, or maybe a bit taller, should actually fit in here not too bad. Just triangular pockets. I would prefer square ones right along, maybe. But that's just another personal preference. One of the features they've added for 2020 is a solid fabric in the top here, just to stop condensation dripping down. But I don't know if that's a manufacturing fault here. There's something wrong with the fabric. There's like a bit of glue is on it. You actually find that the solid fabric is actually lighter in weight than the mesh. But it's a nice touch, and it's going to help to prevent your sleeping bag hopefully getting wet from drips of water. In the corners you have hooks that I would maybe actually add a drying line. Be ideal for just hanging your socks up to dry at the end of a day. But overall the inside, it certainly seems well put together, well stitched. A little bit of an issue here with some glue on the fabric, but no damage done. You're probably wondering why I like the DCF material, why I'm so keen on it. It was originally created for competition sailing boats, and it's very, very strong because it was made for their sails. Downside is that it can be easily punctured though, so where it's being used for a bathtub in your tent, maybe better putting something underneath to help prevent springing a leak, shall we say, or something getting through it. But it's very easy to repair if that happens, because you can just put on an adhesive patch, job done. The other benefit is that it doesn't absorb water. It's not like sil nylon where, in the rain or condensation, you'll see the panels start to sag. Once you set this up at night and it's all nice and tight, or at the end of the day and everything's tight, it'll stay like that till the morning. I've seen it in other tents I've had where you'll need to go out before you hit the sack, or even during the night where you're having to tension the guy lines because it's sagging that much. It's one of those things where I also chose the MSR Access tents because of that outer frame, and it kind of helped to keep its shape. Now the fact that it doesn't absorb water, if you have condensation on it in the morning, you can just use a sponge, wipe it down, that's it, job done. A little bit of wring out. You're not carrying excess water weight. If you've got a very heavy sil nylon fly sheet in your rucksack, until you can get that somewhere to dry out, you're carrying all that extra weight in water. And that's just another reason why I prefer the Cuben fibre. The fact that you can also add on extra tie-out points and guy-out points, which I'll show you in a second, it just makes it so much easier to modify or tweak to the way you want it. One of the things that I was aware of with this tent before I even bought it was these large kind of side panels, and I wanted to make them a bit stronger, and I knew I could get these adhesive tie-out points, and they come from a guy called Wild Sky Gear, and he's a young guy on eBay. He makes a lot of DCF Cuben fibre stuff. I'll leave a link down below, and you can buy these patches and just modify the tent the way you want it. So I'm going to add on these kind of outer points here, maybe one in the middle here. I'm going to cut this into a half circle and have it down the bottom, and it just gives you those extra tie-out points for if the weather really turns bad. It's just, yeah, just adhesive. You can stick them on. I think it's a great thing about the DCF fabric that you can modify the tent in such a way, as easy as that, and just improve it that little bit more. But on the front, I'm actually thinking of having one here as well. And then that way, if I have a couple of carbon fibre poles, I can run a guy line from the centre panel down, round this and off, ability you do with a trekking pole, and it would also give some extra strength to this panel in the winter and during stormy weather. So the upshot of it all is I'm going to tweak it a bit to try and improve it to my tastes. Still a perfectly capable tent, but yeah, I just like to be a bit belt and braces, and that's what I'm going to do. One of the features I do like about this tent is the fact that it has the two vestibules and the two entrances. That way you can have your kit on one side, cook another. Depending which way the winds may be blowing, you can change which side you get in and out from. It's just a great thing to have in a tent, and it also helps with the aerodynamics of the tent from basically shedding wind. That was the issue I had with the MSR Access 1, where you've got one side that's really flat. It was prone to catching the wind. I like the fact that this is kind of angled out on both sides. There's a guy who has a blog called Trail Space, I think it is. I'll also leave a link to his report or his blog writings, because he done a review of this tent after having used it walking from Land's End to John O'Groats, the length of the country, and he really rates it. And that again was one of the reasons why I decided to bite the bullet and give it a go. But so far I'm quite impressed. There's a few little niggles, there always are, but I think there's nothing that can't be overcome, shall we say. And I'm looking forward to trying it, I really am. Now you might enjoy this video that's coming up now, maybe not, as always. Possibly give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever you want to do. And until the next time, take care.